It's the beginning of another week. Good evening. Welcome. This is Ghana Tonight. We're live from our news about Desa Wakanda. Also live on TV3 Ghana on Facebook and on DSTV channel 279. We're all across the world on 3news.com. Also on TV3 Ghana on Facebook and on 3 News on YouTube. Tonight, let's get into the matters here on Ghana Tonight. First off, the Democracy Hub is seeking the disqualification of the National Democratic Congress NDC candidate for the upcoming Ayawaso East by-election. Baba Jamal will tell you why the group is in court and the relief they're seeking. Stay with us tonight. Also, the killing of Ghanaian traders in neighboring Burkina Faso raises concerns about the urgent need to tackle terrorism in the sub-region. We have a conversation tonight. Stay with us. Against illegal mining intensifies as the National Anti-Illegal Mining Operations Secretariat, NIMOS, effects more arrests. But there are concerns about the district chief executives and the municipal chief executives being the weakest link in this Galamsey fight. Stay with us. We have a conversation on these and more. It's also an integral part of the conversation. The hashtag we always use is Ghana Tonight on Facebook and on X. Let's keep the conversation going. Well, let's settle for Ghana Briefs.
Democracy Hub has gone to the High Court to stop the National Democratic Congress candidate from contesting the Ayawaso East by-election. The group argues that although an internal NDC committee reportedly found evidence of vote buying during the party's primaries, the party upheld the results and presented its winner to the Electoral Commission in breach of constitutional requirements for democratic internal processes. The minority leader Alexander Afenyo-Markin has renewed calls for the government to urgently pay cocoa farmers. The Futu MP argued that even at the height of the economic crisis under the administration of Nana Akufo-Addo, the government continued to honor payments of matured coupons under the Domestic Debt Exchange Program and met public sector wage obligations. He was addressing TESCON members.
When Ghana had this economic crisis after the COVID, and by the way, everybody knows that COVID was a shaker where over a year there was no activity. In such difficult circumstances, Akufo-Addo and his government managed to pay every public sector worker. Not a single month. And the police ni bi ni pay amba, soldier ni bi ni pay amba, teacher ni bi ni pay amba.
The Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Professor Samuel Kaba Akorie, has charged health research centers in the country to extend their research into finding lasting solutions to the annual meningitis-related deaths. Speaking during a working visit to the Upper East region, Professor Akorie said evidence-based research would help the health authority in its preparations and response to critical health issues.
I'm officially charging all the research centers to come out and tell us exactly why this seasonality and why our people are dying. We want evidence base so that we put an end to this.
The Ministry of Education has directed the Ghana Education Service to expedite investigations into the recent attacks on teachers at West African Senior High School. According to the ministry, the investigations are expected to be concluded within the next 2 weeks to ensure that those responsible are brought to justice and to restore calm and order within the academic environment. Vice President of the Pre-Tertiary Teachers Association of Ghana, Adukwe Aluwe, is urging the police to act swiftly to deter future attacks.
These are hooligans. I mean, you invade a school and attack teachers with clubs. I mean, no. I mean, they should have been arrested by now. And the right thing, I don't know what the police is doing. That is why I'm saying that there is a need for us to come up with a strong statement. We want to hear something from the ministry, from GES, from the president, if the president has to speak again. Because yes, we can go on strike. We can decide to not to work again, but for how long? Because we will go back again.
The Accra Circuit Court has ordered a businessman in his 60s to pay 200,000 cedis compensation to his former lover in a case of breach of promise to marry. The case, which started as a suit for an ejection order against the lady, ended with the court finding a breach of promise to marry and the imposition of a constructive trust over an East Legon property.
This, as always, is more news on 3news.com. Make some time visit 3news.com. This is Ghana Tonight. We're live as well on 3FM 92.7, also on 3 News on YouTube. As always, probably brought to you by Flamingo Paint, Simply Superior. Sasso Insecticide Spray and Qualcomm Tum Preco coming up next on Ghana Tonight. The National Anti-Illegal Mining Operations Secretariat, as NIMOS, has arrested 5 armed men impersonating members of the Anti-Galamsey Task Force in the Western region. We're going to be telling you a bit more on this because NIMOS has been on a number of operations in the Western North regions, and there's been a lot that's happening in there and raises questions as well about where exactly is the weak link or the weakest link in this entire fight against Galamsey. But the National Anti-Illegal Mining Operations Secretariat, that's NIMOS, they've arrested some 5 armed men impersonating members of the Anti-Galamsey Task Force in the Western region. Those are the men you see on the screen there. The arrest took place at Hiawa in the Wassa Amenfi Central Municipality following reports from locals and miners that a group of armed men were extorting money from illegal mining operators under the guise of NIMOS operations. So those are the men there. NIMOS seized weapons and items from the suspects, including a pistol with 2 magazines, pepper sprays, cutlasses, a shocker, hand radios, a handcuff, helmets, a taser, and 150,000 cedis in cash. Now, the group has since been escorted to Accra and handed over to the Ghana Police Service for further investigation. So that's what we do know. These gentlemen, in fact, this came at a time when questions have been raised about the fight against illegal mining and then also the weakest link in all of this. So these persons have already been identified and then also the information made available to the Ghana Police Service for their further investigations into the operations of these 5 gentlemen who were impersonating the NIMOS members. That's this National Anti-Illegal Mining Operations Secretariat Task Force. They've been arrested, but Engineer Dr. Ken Ashigbe is the convener of the Ghana Coalition Against Galamsey. He's joining us on Zoom right now. Good evening.
Good evening, Alfred.
Thank you for connecting with us here on Ghana Tonight. And I know you're privy to this particular story or this development in there. This is not the first time we have seen a situation like this, but continuously these persons get arrested, and also the operations of NIMOS in these Galamsey prone areas concerns have been raised about what exactly could be the weakest link in all of this Galamsey fight. And you put it at the doorstep of the DCE and the MCEs. Why is that? Hello?
So, Alfred, even before I go on to, answer your question, on the 14th of February, whilst all of us were, celebrating the Chocolate Day, NIMOS also did test on the 13th of February in the Ashanti region, the Pinase and Bekwara miners ran off, and but they managed to burn some of the and immobilized. Interestingly, there they also see cut.
Engineer, I can hardly hear you.
Alfred, can you hear me?
There's a break in the connection. It's a bit cranky.
Okay, you know what? Maybe it might be.
No.
Let me log.
Yes, please. Kindly do that for me.
I'm sure the connection might be better.
Perfect. Do that for me, and we'll reestablish connection to Engineer Dr. Ken Ashigbe. So these are the five gentlemen, these persons you see on the screen there. According to the NIMOS, these persons have been arrested because they were impersonating the members of the anti-Galamsey task force in the Western region. In fact, warning the public against such criminal activities. We understand the arrest took place on February 13, 2026 at Hiawa in the Wassa Memphis Central Municipality, following reports from locals and miners that a group of armed men were extorting. For these persons are reported to have been extorting money from illegal miners operating under the guise of the NIMOS operations. And so that's what we're seeing right now in the developments, and what we're keeping an eye on quite closely. According to NIMOS, these individuals were parading as members of the anti-Galamsey task force, collecting huge sums of money from illegal miners. And the imposters were intercepted while returning from a special operation at AEM, Jobo, after the task force spotted a suspicious Toyota Land Cruiser. So these persons were using a Toyota Land Cruiser with registration number AK819-2021, AK819-2021, believed to belong to the group. The arrested men have all then been with their weapons recovered, including a pistol with 2 magazines, pepper spray, cutlasses, a shocker, hand radios, and a handcuff. 150,000 cedis cash been handed over to the Ghana Police Service for further investigations on this particular development. Now, this is not the only one. We also got notice of another operation by NIMOS. This same Western region, Western North region, there was another, apart from these 5 who have been arrested. We'll get Engineer Ken Ashigbe a bit, but the Anti-Illegal Mining Operations Secretary NIMOS also, a few days ago, arrested 3 Chinese nationals and 1 Ghanaian in an intelligence-led operation at illegal mining site at Dum Banso. That's K9 in the Impoho district of the Western region. Now, the raid was conducted following surveillance of activities at the Galamsey site. During the coordinated operation, the suspect attempted to flee upon sensing the task force's approach using 2 vehicles. They were, however, swiftly intercepted and arrested. The suspects were apprehended aboard a Mitsubishi pickup with registration number GT385013. That's what you see there, GT385013. And then also a Toyota Highlander with registration number GS572-2025. A further assessment of the site revealed tracks of 2 excavators which had been hastily moved and concealed in nearby bushes before the task force arrived. To prevent their further use in illegal mining, the officers immobilized the machines and due to the unavailability of low bed services, they removed 2 control boards from the excavators and 2 oil pumps, rendering the excavators immovable, so inoperable. In fact, so much of fact. Then let's go back to Engineer Dr. Kenneth Shigbe. You were making a point earlier before the connection to you got a bit cranky, referring earlier to the 5 persons who were impersonating these NIMOS officers. Engineer.
The 14th of February operations that NIMOS did, and I think you've given us the details of that.
Yes.
And so you mentioned that who is the weakest link. I think one of the things that we also need to say is that, the efforts of NIMOS have been yielding results. But if you remember, when we met His Excellency, the President, the CSOs met the President, one of the details that NIMOS gave was the fact that they were going to set up permanent bases in some of these areas to be able to deal with the issues. But unfortunately, I'm not sure NIMOS has gotten all the resources they need. So again, you find out that they keep on doing these hits, and then by the time they get there, like the 14th of February raid that they did, the people got wind of it and they ran off, and so they could not arrest anybody. And so what we will plead with His Excellency the President and the Minister for Finance is that NIMOS should be resourced so that these permanent bases that they want to set up in these communities, they can set them up there. And once they are in there in those particular locations, then, anybody, if any of their commanders go and they see any galamsey out there, they'll be able to hold them responsible and accountable. And then we'll be able to deal with those 28 hotspots once they get into those places. So that's one of the things that I believe that we really need to do. But then you raise the issue about who the weakest link in this fight is, so far as this galamseyers are. By the structure of our governance, the president is represented by the MCs and the DCs in the metros, the municipalities, and the district assemblies. And these DCs are the chairpersons of the security coordinating committees, as well as the mining committees if they exist. And so when you take the 2 municipalities in Ashanti region that NIMOS would have hit, the question you ask yourself is that what was the DCs or the MCs doing in this area that it has to take NIMOS moving from their bases to get in the community? And so those are questions we should be asking. But the situation gets aggravated. If you take the example of the expose that was done by one of your colleague media houses, multimedia, where you then see in Amansia, I think it's the Amansia Central Municipality or District Assembly, where the assemblies themselves are going around and they are giving, permits to people who are operating chamfans, and equipment that are proscribed by law in this country. And then they are going into the theater where people are doing illegal mining and giving their excavators permits. That is definitely a crime that should be dealt with. And I know that when Joy FM petitioned the president to the Minister for Local Government, a committee has been set up. The sad thing is that this DC still remains at post. And then again, the DC for Tano North, the assembly have also been issuing prospecting licenses, to some miners. But we all know that when it comes to prospecting license, even the Minerals Commission only recommend. It is only the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources who can sign it. So that's an illegality. Then again, I think in the Odan area, the municipal assembly that is there also have, a particular fee they are calling illegal mining. I don't know whether it's a fine or it's a charge. If somebody is purported to have committed an illegality, if it's an illegal mining offense, you need to prosecute the person under the Minerals and Mining Law Act 995 as amended, and the previous ones, Act 703 and all of that. You as an assembly cannot take upon yourself and to be a judge and jury in that particular case and be purporting to be issuing at fines and charging fees to them. So these assemblies have proven, and Dunkwao, when you take the example of Dunkwao, and often the municipality there, they also issue out, these stickers to people with excavators and all of that. And they cannot tell us that all of those excavators, some of them do not find themselves in the theater of illegality. And so if these people who are supposed to be representing the president are rather now the people through their permitting and so-called IGM, permitting an illegality, then they are the people perpetuating it. And so they just confirm my thesis that when you see Galamsey happening in a district and municipality, there are two things that are happening. Either the MC is so incompetent or they are complicit. They are also complicit in the event. And I hear that the committee has started its work. But would appeal to the Minister for Local Government and then Ashanti Regional Minister and all the ministers who are involved in it. All of these DCs, the 3 or 4 I have mentioned, they should be interdicted immediately to show the seriousness that we attach to this particular thing. And not only them, all their officers who are involved, the coordinating directors who are involved and all of that, and the presiding members. One of the presiding members, the presiding member of Tanonof, contacted me on social media and was asking the question about why am I saying that their DC should be arrested. So, and I was pointing out to him that there's no way that they, as an assembly, can be issuing out prospecting licenses. And he was trying to talk about the fact that they are permitted by some fees, but you cannot say that somebody is practicing prostitution, which is illegal in our country, and because he's earning revenue, you're also going to issue permits to the person and all of that. These are illegal activities, and these people, and whoever has done it, they claim some of these bylaws, predates them, 2008 and all of that. Fortunately for us, crime does not have any time bar. Anybody who's been involved in this illegality should be brought to book.
I see. It's an important point you make about the practice itself and these actions of some DCs that tends to, as it were, legitimize this illegality because these illegal miners say they are paying fees to some DCs and so on. These 5 persons who were arrested as imposters of this NIMOS task force, they were also going around taking money from these illegal miners in the name of some kind of tax or levy of a sort. So they are allowed to do whatever they are doing. We understand over 150,000 cedis was retrieved from them. Now,
correct.
What do you expect, even though there's been a committee that has been established to investigate the outcome of this said undercover work by the colleague or another media house? What do you expect to be done while this committee does its investigations into what has happened, as to serve as a warning or a deterrent to some DCs and MCs who are involved in this but have not been caught as yet?
For me, I think that, you see, because of the gravity of the situation that we're talking about, that these are ecocide that is being committed, these are activities that are impacting the turbidity of water, these are activities that are affecting the lives of Ghanaians, these are activities that, are resulting in heavy metals in our water bodies, increasing our medical bills, sending some Ghanaians to their early grave. Because this is a grave situation. And if you remember that His Excellency the President, when he was campaigning, he pointed out that it's the DCs, the MCs, ministers who were involved in this activity. And if now, during his tenure, we have now actually found some of them. I'll share with you the prospecting license that was issued by the Tana North Assembly, for example. These people should immediately, as the processes are, they need to be arrested. And then, investigations go into the activity for the criminal act, but then administrationally as well, they also need to be interdicted. Because, Alfred, the point is that these, in those districts and municipalities, they are the head of the administration. They are the head of the security task force. So the police commanders work to them. So how do you think an investigator will be able to investigate these people when these things are going on? And this is crimes that have been committed. So our plea to His Excellency the President and to the Minister for Local Government and the regional ministers who are involved in these cases is that these people should be interdicted at the least. You see, we say all of this because we know in the past government there was a crash failure in the situation of the Bosomil Frehu DC when he was caught on tape confessing to an illegality. What did we see? The first thing was the president asking that he should go and bury his dead. before he comes back. When he came back, all that we saw was that he has also just been relieved of his duty. And then we were told that in the terms of trying to prosecute him, there were some technicalities that were used. So if you allow these people to still stay at where they are, you will find out that, like in the Busume Franwu DCE case, we will not be able to prosecute because there might be an issue in which, some decisions that have to be taken, cover-ups should have been done because we left them to be at post. So it is important that my friend, my brother, the Minister for Local Government, working together with, again, another brother, the Minister for Interior, and then my younger brother, the Ashanti Regional Minister, from whom Amansia Central also falls under, and should all take decisions to make sure these people are interdicted so that we send the right signal that we are so opposed to this issue. The president is so committed to this particular one that we are not going to allow anybody to use any means. And that's what we are seeing with these people who have also been arrested. They get all of these people moving around. In the Amansia area, for example, there's somebody called Red. They go around these communities extorting this money in the names of permits that they are giving to these people and allow the people to conduct these illegalities. So it is very important that His Excellency gets the ministers to interdict these people and take them away from the investigation so that when they are investigated and they are found not guilty, they can go back to their place and their salaries will be restored to them. But if they are found guilty, then they are not only administrative sanctions, but criminally also prosecuted.
I see. Now, a quick one. You see, in the second case of the one that these 3 Chinese have also been arrested by NIMOS, same Western region in Pahor area, we understand they're going to be handed over to the immigration. Then they will then have to go through the process of getting them out of the country. This is a policy or this merger you have raised concerns about consistently, but, well, nothing has changed as yet.
Again, you see, for me, this is my pain. I hope that the Honorable Muntaka is not going to, again, come with a policy which is against a law. There is a law in this country. Act 995, the Minerals and Mining Act that's amended, talks about the fact that if foreigners are arrested in a theater of crime that is illegal mining, what we do is that we take them through the rigors of the law, punish the, if we find them guilty, we convict them, they serve the sentence before we deport them. We sat in this country and we deported Aisha Wan. And His Excellency, the former president, did not even know whether he was actually deported or he had just come. He came back because our borders are porous. You deport these people, they will go and they will come back again. So I am very pained if this very obnoxious policy of deporting foreigners, which is very discriminatory. Why is it that when Ghanaians are caught, they are also not deported from their home regions that they are found in and they're asked to go to other regions? But if foreigners are, then we allow them, deport them, and let them go enjoy the booty of their crimes that they have committed. And this again these are some of the cases that as how do you call it, CSOs, we might have to find ways in which we bring action to make sure that His Excellency the President, make sure that the Minister of Interior and NIMOS, they do the right thing. NIMOS should not be handing these people over to immigration. They should be given to the police and they should be prosecuted. After all, the chief His Lordship, the Chief Justice, says there are specialized courts now to deal with these cases. So it should not take long for these cases to go through the specialized courts, for them to be prosecuted. And Alfred, I'll be asking TV3, go and check up, since these specialized courts were set up to deal with cases including that of Galamsey. What has happened to that? So that you can brief all of us as your viewers to find out what's happening and what is going on.
It is worth the ask, and it's one that will stay the steam on and definitely bring you some more updates on it. But thank you, Engineer. Thank you so much for joining us here on Ghana Tonight.
Thank you very much.
Engineer Dr. Ken Ashigbe is the convener of the Ghana Coalition Against Galamsey. You can find more of this on 3news.com. But coming up next on Ghana Tonight, Pressure Group Democracy Hub urges High Court to restrain Alhaji Baba Jamal from participating in the Ayawaso East March 3 by-election over vote buying allegations. Got wind of this hours ago, and pressure group Democracy Hub is urging an Accra High Court to restrain Baba Jamal from participating in the Ayawaso East March 3 by-election. The group maintains he was elected in a manner which breaches the democratic principles enshrined in the 1992 Constitution of Ghana. I want to take you closer to the reliefs the group is seeking in court. I'm going to put that on the screen right now. It gives a certain pointer. They say a declaration that the NDC's Ayawaso East parliamentary primary haven't been officially found to be characterized by widespread vote buying and inducement violated Article 55(5) of the 1992 Constitution and Section 9 of the Political Parties Act. Also, Democracy Hub is seeking a declaration that the NDC's continued reliance on that primary result breaches the Constitution. Also, a declaration that the decision of the Electoral Commission to accept the candidate from that process violates its constitutional mandate under Article 45. Now, they're seeking some judicial review reliefs, an order of certiorari to quash the Electoral Commission's decision recognizing the NDC's candidate. Also, an order of mandamus compelling the EC to refuse the nomination unless a constitutionally compliant primary is conducted. Then, an interlocutory injunction restraining the Electoral Commission from, one, accepting the nomination or allowing the candidate, that's Baba Jamal, to contest the March 3 by-election. And pending the final determination of the case, Democracy Hub is seeking a perpetual injunction preventing the Electoral Commission from recognizing Baba Jamal for that matter. And well, this is a matter that we put to the General Secretary of the party earlier. In an earlier interview, Kameni asked Fifi Fiavikwete about these divergent views or concerns that have been raised about the party's position and the decision to still go ahead with Baba Jamal, although the committee the party set up established that some wrongdoing had been done. Take a look.
The party now has been made a recommendation that we should have a 7-member committee that goes into a comprehensive proposal as to how we can resolve the issue. So clearly, opportunity is not lost at all. And what is worth doing is worth doing well. Because as I told you, it's a problem that has been here for decades. It's not just happening yesterday or 2 days ago. So if you want to tackle it, you must tackle it properly. You don't tackle it by using tokenism or simply trying to make people feel happy. When you do that, you'll be even like MPP that came across shouting all kinds of slogans, and at the end of the day, they left the country in total devastation because they were much more interested in the PR rather than solving the problem properly. We are interested in comprehensive reform that would absolutely deal a death blow to this problem once and for all. It's not just the PR we want to do it properly, because what is worth doing must be done well.
So that's Fifi Fiavikwete there, is the General Secretary of the NDC in that earlier interview with my colleague Kameni Amano. But if you see the party's recommendations and conclusions regarding this particular incident that happened in the Ayawaso East primaries, the committee they set up to investigate this incident noted that the issues related to Mohammed Baba Jamal Ahmed were the most extensively documented by virtue of his statements and his status as a 7 public officer, the distribution of items such as motorbikes and television sets to delegates on the day of a primary is, by its very nature, an act of inducement. The act offering such inducement is itself the breach. It need not be demonstrated that each individual recipient changed their vote. The committee is of the view that the integrity of the process could be best protected by nullifying the results of the Ayawaso East constituency primaries. But then again, there was the recognition of the recommendation carrying significant and practical implications. And we'll see how the coming days will be like on this move by the Democracy Hub. But coming up next, after this quick break, the killing of Ghanaian traders in Burkina Faso has sparked urgent calls to confront this rising terror attacks, especially in the neighboring countries. Stay with us. Dr. Emmanuel Bombande is going to be joining us after this quick break. We have a conversation on this rather troubling development which has led to the death of Ghanaian traders. tomato traders and truck drivers. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back. This is Ghana Tonight. The Minister for the Interior, Mohamed Muntaka Mubarak, has confirmed that 18 Ghanaian traders, 10 men and 8 women, were killed in a terrorist attack in northern Burkina Faso. The incident reportedly occurred during the confrontation between extremist fighters and Burkinabe security forces. While confirming the incident, the minister cautioned the public to desist from sharing the videos of the incident. Now, this is what we have from the minister. We're going to put it on the screen right now. And yesterday, the Minister of the Interior also issued a statement. But these are quotes attributed to the minister. It said the attackers forced the women off the truck, opened fire indiscriminately. Several individuals, including the drivers, died instantly. And the trucks were set ablaze, leaving the bodies burned beyond recognition. Mohamed Muntaka Mubarak also says that indeed sharing the footage of these burned bodies is not only insensitive but also adds to their trauma. He pleaded with everyone to stop circulating these images and put themselves in the shoes of the grieving families, and said that further details will be communicated to the public. After this, we got notice of the ministry's information that they put out in this press statement that the government of Ghana has received disturbing information from Burkina Faso of a truck carrying tomato traders from Ghana, which was caught in a terrorist attack in Titao, Burkina Faso, Saturday, 14 February 2026. Now, this statement follows and continues that the Ghana embassy in Burkina Faso is liaising with the officials of Burkina Faso to visit the attack site for details and identification of Ghanaians caught in the attack. Also, further information will be given as to what will be done going forward. But here's what we do know about this particular town. This Titao area has faced continuous and repeated attacks, armed attacks for that matter. Last time checked, since 2019, militant groups continue to destabilize in this particular northern part of Burkina Faso. The region remains one of the most volatile zones in the Sahel, with security threats affecting both civilians and these cross-border traders. But this terrorist group that we understand is responsible for this barbaric act that has led to the death of these Ghanaians. Here's what we know about this particular group, this terrorist group that has claimed responsibility for this. The Jamaat Nusrat al-Islam wal Muslimin, that's JNIM, or the Group for the Support of Islam and Muslims, is said to be an Al-Qaeda affiliated jihadist organization operating in the Sahel region of Africa, formed in 2017, rapidly grown, become the most well-armed and dominant militant force in West Africa, posing a significant expanding security threat across the region. And they merged. In fact, this is an amalgamation of other extremist groups, this particular JNIM group. All of these groups, including the Sahara branch of Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb, and then the Masina Liberation Front, all these merged together to form this JNIM extremist group. Quite expansive from what we've been reading. The group is led by Iyad Aj Kali, a veteran Malian Tuareg militant, and then also his deputy, a crucial deputy, key recruiter for the group, particularly among the Fulani community. And as of 2025, this group is considered the most powerful extremist group in the Sahel, with an estimated 5,000 to 6,000 fighters. Now, Emmanuel Bombande is a peace and security analyst and then also a mediator of peace, and also in terms of the security of this particular Sahel region. He understands how the Sahel region works quite closely. He's joining us on Zoom right now. So, Bade, good evening. Thank you for joining us as a conflict resolution and mediation specialist, taking into consideration what's happened right now. This is not the first time we've seen this unfortunate incident happen. But in the past, anytime this happens, the member country in ECOWAS is left to deal with it on their own. So what should be the response mechanism to this particular incident that we have seen? Again, claiming the lives of Ghanaians as traders and the driver.
Thank you so much, Fred, for the invitation, and I send greetings to all your viewers. First of all, let me, in less than 1 minute, talk about the location of this tragic incident as we express profound condolences to the families of our compatriots who have been killed in this terrorist attack. Now, Tintao is a community only 41 kilometers to the border with Mali. And we're talking about literally about 105 kilometers north of Ouagadougou. So the first thing that came to my mind, why would Ghanaian traders go right to the border of Mali to buy tomatoes? And my quick research indicated that this is one of the very productive vegetable farming areas, not just tomatoes, but potatoes, onions, and you name it. And what that told me was that if you look at it from the concept of human security, our mothers would go anywhere they can buy goods at a good price and travel to sell it at a higher price. And that's how many of us, they paid our school fees to become who we are. And what does that tell you? It tells you that we are trying to respond to the threats of terrorism only at the state level of insecurity. And yet what it even requires more and more is at the human security level of the people. So this is my quick background, and I'll then be specific in responding to your question. Your question is important because we continue to pay the price when the incident or the event, tragic as it is, occurs. So we talk about it and we move on. And the quick background is very simple. We all knew at the end of 2011 going into 2012, particularly with the fall of the Gaddafi regime and the Tuareg rebels who now were fighting against the government of Bamako, but were dormant, took advantage of the equipment and the resources they had amongst themselves, supporting the Gaddafi side of the conflict in Libya. And so they intensified their fight against the government of Bamako. It was at this point that, whereas it was a political objective, jihadist groups were able to overwhelm them and take over the northern parts of Mali, and we then saw the spread of terrorism across the Sahel belt. The early warning sign was that the whole of West Africa was going to be engulfed. Now, in order to be brief, that was when the impetus of a collective response was very, if you call it, novel. It was very, it was more an imperative. And everybody understood at that time there was no time to waste and there was no luxury about how we responded to that. But Fred, in order to deal with these matters, the motivation is not about how you organize yourself at the security level. Because political leadership at the level of member states must drive the political will to provide a military response. And that is then when we started to fall completely short. And in 2015, at that time, His Excellency President John Mahama, in his first term, became chair of ECOWAS. Now, what were we doing as Ghana? We did everything based on all the research, based on all the advocacy, including from civil society, that we needed to reform ECOWAS and now make it resolute, give it the resilience so that we can have collective action. And how did we want to do that? We needed to develop a political convergence criteria that would drive a collective military response, including upgrading the standby force. But the elephant in the room was this. When my former boss, Her Excellency Hannah Tete, was chair of the ECOWAS Council of Ministers, we were seeking to make it compelling for every African leader, and here I'm talking about the West Africa region, every ECOWAS leader to commit to 2 terms in office. And once we had that political will, we will now be able to develop the type of consensus that invests in the standby force and upgrades it to the level of a collective action. And that was the time we were now having the conversation around, you have to give something in order to have another. In other words, we needed to make compromises. At the security level, we needed to give up a little bit of our sovereignty in order to define the collective security. But you could not do that without the political convergence criteria and the political will of all the leaders. And so what did we start to do? The idea of the Accra Initiative then came about. And here we're talking in 2017, 2018. And the whole idea of the Accra Initiative was to give impetus again to a collective security arrangement. It was even suggested that each West African country should be prepared to put forward $100 million to be invested in activating our standby force. And that collectively we move together and deal with terrorist groups once and for all. But keep in mind, as I introduced, that there was no political will of a convergence criteria to be able to have collective decision making politically. And so how could you have an Accra Initiative that was willing or that had the wherewithal to be able to respond? And so what you then saw was that the Accra Initiative just became a talk shop. We could not buy it. The situation continued to deteriorate. Then by 2021, the cycle of coup d'etats started to hit us. And what you then saw happening was a heightened level of mistrust amongst us. And that, in a summary, would have the 3 Sahelian countries led by military leaders to withdraw. And their withdrawal was due in part, one, to the fact that they had been left alone to fight the terrorists. And if you remember, there were conferences and conferences about how not to allow terrorism to spread southwest to the coastal regions.
Absolutely. I mean, and you see, that's where my concern is, Dr. Manu Bobade, because African citizens are, in fact, West African nationals are being killed by these terrorists. There's no political will to converge to fight this. And there's been a lot of talk, conferences to deal with this same problem that there's no political will to fight over. So what's the point? But you stay with me. We're going to go for this quick break, please. We'll be back shortly after this quick break and try to understand why there's too much talk and less action. Stay with us. And welcome back from that quick break here on Ghana Tonight. Dr. Emmanuel Bombade is still with us, a conflict resolution and mediation specialist. But Dr. Bombade, the point we were making before we went on that quick break, what we do know about this particular extremist group is that they're based in Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso. They have expanded southward into coastal West African nations, including Togo, neighboring Togo and Cote d'Ivoire, Benin. I mean, and they've claimed first attacks on Nigerian soil as well. So they're expanding their reach. And yet West African countries' heads are only talking and organizing conferences about this problem, this situation, as you just said yourself. So why is there so much talk and less action when citizens in the sub-region are being killed by these extremist groups?
Indirectly, we're creating the impression that terrorism can be in the Sahel and it can be in the Sahara to the north of Africa, but never should we allow it to come down. Those were all wrong political messages, political language that became divisive. And so the strengthened resolve of the alliance of Sahel states, when they separated from ECOWAS, was that we'll fight this alone. We'll do it alone. But that was, in my view, a tragic mistake. Because if you look at it from a human security dimension, we had no choice but collectively to respond together. And now the mistrust then also went to the level of external factors. The suspicion that powerful, if you'd call it, nations were interfering in the politics of West Africa and supporting some leaders against the collective interests of the region. Now, let me then add here that it has now come to pass that those leaders in the Accra ECOWAS summit who refused to come along with the reforms that President Mahama was leading at that time to compel each West African leader to have 2 terms had an agenda that was hidden that we did not know. And each of them later on would violate their own constitutions to elongate their terms of office and to continue to stay in office. And they continue to stay in office. So it goes against the rules, the values, and the principles of a collective interest that promotes human security, which is the interest of the people. And it is rather serving the individual interest of some leaders. Put all this together, Fred, as a background, and what you then see happening now is that we're paying the price for the refusal as West Africa to work together collectively to deal with a monster that was growing and spreading. And this is now what is happening.
I see.
So that you can argue very clearly that if you happen to be in a wrong place at the wrong time, it doesn't matter which passport you hold of which West African country, you can become a victim of a terrorist attack. Fred.
It's a troubling development. Quickly, now that you said President Mahama in his first term made his position clear on this matter, but it's happened again. Ghana's influence is growing globally and even on the continent. On the back of this AU summit that just ended in Addis Ababa, what should be the government of Ghana's response to this latest attack? Quickly.
So first of all, is to continue to do what we are doing, aware of the threats not decreasing but increasing. In other words, we continue to professionalize our men and women in uniform for the safeguard and protection of civilians and not to allow any incursion into our territory that will take away the sunshine of us being probably the only country that did not experience a terrorist attack on our territory. And to do that, I have advocated the involvement of the people. And I have advocated that the whole mantra that the awareness creation should be for the people when they see something suspicious to report to the security agencies, so that the security agencies now are the front line, but they have the backing of every Ghanaian to be the eyes and the ears that allows the effectiveness of the security agencies to now be able to determine the pathway forward. So this is one, but this is purely in terms of mitigation on the threats that continue to grow. But more importantly, as you have suggested, what do we continue to do? The goodwill that President Mahama has established, he should continue to leverage upon that goodwill, continue to talk with his peers, and help them in an analysis to see that in the medium to long term, we are all going to be losers if we are not prepared to work collectively. And for that to happen, to find the ways and the means to overcome our mistrust and our suspicion. And for that to happen, I would strongly advocate the type of dialogues at that level of our heads of states that are frank, that are honest, raising the right questions and finding a way to have a conversation around them in order to remove the obstacles and the blockages and be renewed in a resolve with concrete action plans in a roadmap on how we work together.
Right.
And finally, it is now.
And unfortunately, we'll run out of time on this, but I think that the point is clearly made on this particular development and what the way forward should be. Thank you so much. Dr. Emmanuel Bombande is conflict resolution and mediation specialist on the happenings around us as a country. And as we've seen, our citizens, dear Ghanaian citizens, have been caught in these terrorist attacks and leading to their death, unfortunately. There's more news on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. And then also you can join the New Day team tomorrow morning and on 3FM 92.7, the Sunrise team as well. I'm Alfred Kansi. Have a good night.
Ghana Tonight is brought